Welcome back, watchers and listeners, to another episode of Talking Chop. I'm your host, David Pokorny, as always, the account runner of Upper Hand Chiefs. Guys, we got a little bit of new stuff today. I went into the lab and I created some great graphics for our YouTube viewers. Sorry, Spotify and Apple Podcast listeners. We do have some Apple Podcast listeners. I have been checking the stats and
A few.
look
We
at
have a few.
we have a few, and they do their job, I guess. So we can't dog on podcasts too much. But I also have a beard. It's a superstition. I'm holding out for a job right now, and I grow beards very quickly, and I've never tried it out. So here we are. Let me
He's
know in the
copping
comments
the
if you.
style. He's copping the
Yeah,
style.
I copied Garrett right now. Honestly. By the way, we're here with Garett Aimutis as always, Mr. Garrett.
As
How's football
always, baby.
season? How's the
You
all
know,
season training?
so summer's going well. I think just due to the weightlifting program we installed at the end of last season, I think the physicality and strength of our players is significantly better than where we were at the start of last year. So that's something to be really excited about. We had a couple scrimmages already. We have one tomorrow. Hopefully that's going to go smoothly like the past two. Other than that, just getting these kids ready and getting them pumped for the season, man. I'm just ready for football.
Dude, I am too, because it's a slow ass news week this week. But we had a couple highlights. Ramondre Stevenson messed around and got paid. Kansas lawmakers, they approved some funding to try to lure the Chiefs to Kansas. Isaiah BUGGS did a thing, and now he's not here
Or
anymore.
two. Did a thing or two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically the
Oh
second thing,
man.
you know.
He did a couple things. I think he did three things actually, but we've had the craziest offseason I think I could possibly imagine. Even like the little things like Brett Reed, like getting let out of jail, the Patrick
Yeah, we're
Mahomes'
having a very
dad.
like Raiders-esque offseason, I feel. Like we're starting to get that comparison now. And I mean it kinda if players keep doing the things they're doing, I mean I can see why some teams from other or some fans from other teams are like, hey, yo, Chiefs are the new Raiders, man.
Yeah, it's not exactly a good look right now, but it's just crazy how it's all happening right now. But let's get right into Mr. Bugs and what he did. Unfortunately, I mean, just cookie cutter. You can't be a practice squad D tackle and get away with these things at all. You can't be really an any player and get away with these things, to be honest.
Yeah, and Andy Reid is a very like two strike individual. It's very rare that he lets you get past like a second strike. Like the first thing that came out, I was like, okay, yeah, the dog fighting thing. Like,
Or
that
was it
was
dogfighting? He just
it was
neglected it,
like
which is
neglected.
and he
Yeah.
claimed they weren't his dogs, and it was ambiguous enough to where he might have gotten away with it. And then he like beat and dragged his wife out of her house.
Yeah,
That
that was the thing that I'm like, yeah, it's probably time to let him go.
Yeah,
Once it gets to like, honestly, I'm a big pet lover, so when I heard he was neglecting dogs, I'm like, yeah, he's an a-hole, probably push him to the side. But then it came to like the domestic violence thing, and it's like, all right, yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go.
what's odd to me about him was, he was a team captain for in the football sphere, so very odd to see this fall from grace out of nowhere, maybe just CTE, we don't know what's going on in his personal life, or just he is a bad person for all we know. Like, I'm glad the Chiefs acted quickly and were like, there's no point in messing around with this one, there's little to no ambiguity. It's a
Yeah.
pretty cut case.
Also, just a little heads up at that start of the sentence, you did super bug out.
Oh, no. Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
we've been dealing with some Wi-Fi issues, but I think we'll be fine, Gary. I think we
Yeah, as
can.
long as we push through, it doesn't like it's not consistent. I think we'll be fine. But yeah, with the whole like Isaiah Bugs thing, it's like it's hard to see a player that's like at least semi young and has like all of these young players like they have futures, and if they just went on the right path and didn't put themselves in these horrible situations, it's like they could flower into like maybe a good player, but once they do something like that, it's just kind of unreasonable, and we can't have that on the squad. It is what it is.
Yeah. So let's move on to our next topic, which is I'm honestly going to go to Ramondre Stevenson. We talked
Yeah, we'll
about
go
him
to
at the
him
top of
first.
the hour, but it's just like that is like the only thing that happened in the last like 2 weeks NFL news. Really, is that Ramondre got paid 4 years. He's 26 years old, so he'll be 30 at the end of his contract. What were the numbers on that? 4 years, 36 mil. That's a lot. It's not
Yeah, 9 mil
crazy.
a year for Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, it is a running back and it is the Patriots, and we know they love paying their running backs, but, um, I think
But
with the
do
kind
they?
of
I think they, like, usually can just replace them all the time. This one
I guess they saw something in him. I mean, I know he's, like, alright, like, he's not bad. I'd say he's, like, probably, like, top 15. I don't think he's worth, top 6 money like he's getting right
he's
now.
never had more than 6 touchdowns in a season, and for a running back, like, I don't know, 9 mi I mean, at this point, what do the Patriots need to pay? They need to pay nobody, so, I mean, I guess you could splurge on Ramondre and get him to
Yeah, it's like,
stay.
right, it's like, "Hey, it's our one player that we know can at least, put up yardage and kinda ground some out," so they probably tried to throw him a bone so he would stay. He probably got some pretty decent offers elsewhere, and they just didn't wanna give him up, so I'm assuming
Low
it was a
key,
little bit of, like, a bidding war, maybe, but,
I think
the
he
dude
was
is
still under
the
contract for 1 more year. They extended him a year early, so I guess
so
they
that
just
that
wanted to lock
kinda
him up.
adds on to it. I don't know if he's worth a top 6, running back because he's now the 6th highest paid, running back,
He's the
in
6th
terms of
highest paid? Oh, I didn't really
that's what
process
makes
that.
him yeah. Well, I mean, running backs, they don't get paid a lot, dude. I mean, but 9 mil a year, that's gonna make him, top 6 in the league. So,
I would not pay him then if that's the case, because there's so many guys I'd rather have. But, like, honestly, who are the Patriots gonna pay? It's like the same thing with Justin Jefferson, except way different scenario because Justin Jefferson's actually Jesus Christ
and
reincarnated,
it's also
but
the same thing with the Panthers with Brian Burns, but they didn't pay him, but it's like,
that
who else are you paying?
mhm.
I was
It's
very
like
shocked to see the Panthers not, sign Brian Burns to any amount of money, considering he
take
was really their only good player.
agreed, and also having a good D line like Derrick Brown and Burns is something that's good to build in a rebuilding team because those guys will be around for a sec. And also
So,
we could take it to the NBA in terms of the Rockets and what they're doing. Like they overpaid for Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks because they don't have to pay anybody. Their whole team is rookies and on deals. So it's
yeah.
like there's no harm to not pay Stevenson. But dude, I'm mad at the I if I was a Panthers fan, I'd
And
be
I feel
mad
like
at
the whole thing with Brian Burns, right, is like he's a guy that was around the culture in Carolina for a long time. He's been through all of these coaching changes, and he was the one constant. And I think as a GM and as like a head coach, even I would want to keep a guy who's been around the system for a long time, especially in that city, that could bring guys in. Like he had a big voice on the team, and he probably has a lot of voice around the league as well to help bring guys in. But they just didn't want to pay him, and I'm not
I
sure why.
know. If we had our stats guy Jackson, we'd find out what didn't they get like only a third round pick or a second round
Yeah,
pick
it
for
was
him?
it was horrible. It was one of the worst trades I've ever seen. Which I
Listen, there's
guess,
a
if you're a coping Panthers fan, you're like, "Well, we weren't gonna pay him anyway, so we might as well get something for him." It's like, well, you got, about dirt value for him, so
well, there was also the rumor that I think actually ended up being true is the Rams offered 2 first round picks for him back when the
they
Panthers
declined it.
didn't wanna get him out of, Carolina, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, actually, this guy's gonna cost a lot of money." So, okay, but
Let's
who
just
you
trade him for a third.
yeah, but you're not paying your wide receivers, you're not paying your running back, you're not paying your quarterback,
We're not
you're
paying
not paying
anybody.
anyone.
So, like, who are you saving this money for,
And
Carolina?
they let Jeremy Chin walk too, and now he's on the freaking Commanders, and he's gonna be doing great things over at the Commanders. I'm like, "You just letting all your guys walk." Like,
I feel
you're
like I feel like this is like a situation where they're like tanking on purpose, where they're just like, we want to be as low as possible, get all of these top tier draft picks, and then kind of build from there. But when has
they've
that
been doing
ever
that.
worked?
They've
Forever.
been doing that
They've been
forever.
doing that since the Cam rookie year, man. Like it's just been ever since that 20 or not maybe it's not the rookie year, but like that 2015 season. Like ever since that, they're just like, let's not sign anybody or pay anybody or win any games or you know.
Yeah, no, and besides Steve Smith Sr., who's the best receiver that team has ever had? Like, Kelvin Benjamin? Ted Ginn Jr.? Or Ted
I
Ginn
probably
Sr.?
probably Ted Ginn. I honestly like if I had to think of anybody else other than Steve Smith.
Adam Thielen in his final real years of playing football?
He did
Like
okay with Carolina. Like Thielen did all right.
I think it's a volume thing. He got thrown the ball quite a bit.
Well, hey, I mean, if you're open, you're open. What can I say? We all
Yeah,
we all know those Adam Thielen types. They know how to get open, you know.
yeah.
But
Speaking of open, the Kansas City legislation has opened up the possibility of the Chiefs moving from the Missouri side to the Kansas side officially. And Honestly, there's been a lot of debate, "Oh, what if the Kansas City Chiefs becomes Kansas City Kansas Chiefs," and, like, all this. But me and Garrett have seen on Twitter a really good compromise that I really, really like, and I think it'd be something that would be revolutionary in terms of any sporting stadium. No one has this. What if the stadium was built on the state lines and you have Missouri pay for half of the fees and Kansas pay for half of the tax fees? Put the stadium on the state line. Let's talk baseball first. You could hit a home run, left side, you hit it into Kansas, right field, you hit it into Missouri. That'd be sick. That would be amazing. Like,
Yeah, and,
and
like,
then
you could set it up the whole thing, like, you could just make this, like, a whole big spectacle, right? It's like, with the NFL now, like, really going heavy on the sponsoring of, like, sports betting, it's like, hey, if you are watching a Chiefs game, you could be like, "Hey, go to the Kansas half of the stadium, put in, like, your special primetime DraftKings sports bet on the 50-50 deal or whatever." And, you'll have you'll see probably, thousands of people just start rushing to the Kansas side of the stadium, and then, something Missouri has, I guess they could sponsor.
you
Missouri,
see
they
the
got
tailgates end up being in Missouri so that they could smoke a little dope in the pregame
yeah,
tailgates on the
you'll
Missouri
see
side.
some different, differing opinions on sides of stadiums, but I just think it'd be a really interesting idea. Obviously, the logistics of that would be near impossible to bring together just because it's two, arguing state senates and just rulings on taxes and who's paying for what and yada yada yada. But I think in a dream scenario that would be super sick. It would be completely unique to what we have, and I think it kind of fits the culture of Kansas City, where it's just, you know, a lot of people online, they like to like, "Oh, Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, very divided," but I think it's a very, like, uniquely combined city regardless of what side you're on. So, I think that would really fit the culture we have here. It would never happen, but let's just say, since it's opened up, I would not mind it coming straight to Kansas. I mean, it would still be the Kansas City Chiefs, it's not like, "Well, what is it gonna be called now? The Can" no, it just still be Kansas City Chiefs, just couple more feet to the right, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not gonna be that
Yeah.
big of a deal.
I don't want them to move from Arrowhead in my personal opinion. I could care less where the Royals go, honestly, because I think it would be nice if the Royals were downtown or surrounded by actual things outside of the stadium to do. Because it's really not fun when the Royals game ends and you're just in the middle of nowhere,
You're just like,
Missouri.
"Wow, I can't wait to, drive 30 minutes to do anything afterwards," so
Can't wait to go home. But I think it'd just be a great atmosphere if like it was
would
in.
also be a much greater view, looking out into the city skyline from,
Mhm.
like a Royal Stadium that doesn't exist yet, hopefully does in the future. I just think like, "Oh, what are they looking out to now? Like a highway?" Like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
there's nothing there.
what a beautiful, cityscape out there." We have, like, the one highway and maybe, like, a Trader Joe's or something.
For the people who aren't familiar with Kansas City's stadiums, where both of them share a parking lot or in the same exact area, they really are in the middle of nowhere. Like, there
Yeah, you're
is
surrounded by
nothing.
literally nothing. It's
There's
so boring.
houses. There's, like, houses, like, there's, like, houses that are, like, run down, like, right outside the
Yeah, like,
stadium,
you
like,
could
bunch.
walk to the stadium from your house if you lived in those in that division, which
Is it
you'd think, like, "Oh, those houses probably, like, go for a lot" no, they're just, like, shacks, essentially. There's, like, some those little side roads that you can go out of, and it's just, like, straight into, like, little subdivisions. It's the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere. That's what
No,
we need the most. It's just a change of scenery,
I
I think.
guess, but the thing so and then the other topic of debate that everybody is, like, not really a fan of is the dome. I personally don't know how I feel about this because there's pros and cons. Pro being we could host a Super Bowl if we have a dome. Con, I loved having those cold games that we've been to when we went to the Seahawks game and
Mhm.
our beers would freeze and our that was actually crazy that our beers were freezing. It was that cold. It was like minus 10 or something like and then the wind chill was even colder. But
Yeah, you guys
I
would
mean,
open
that's
it
an
up, it would just
advantage.
be, like, instant condensation freezing, but I get what people are saying, like, yeah, we love the cold games and we love, especially even the hot weather, but the easiest compromise in the world is have a retractable dome, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
but then they're still gonna put it up if it was that cold.
I mean, no, Clark Hunt is the one who would decide that, and he doesn't have to because I think the only compromise for having the retractable dome is we could host a Super Bowl. Like, just
And
have
what,
it
you're
in
paying
case.
millions?
Yeah, well, hey, look, they're playing well. We're winning Super Bowls. I think I'm okay paying a few extra, like maybe an extra percent in my taxes just to get a Super Bowl hosted in Kansas City.
That's true, and also too, we gotta think about not just Super Bowls, but, like, World Cups in the future. I know we're having a
Yeah.
World Cup in 2026, I think, but, I mean, even more giant sports spectaculars and, just getting more sports things in Kansas,
And
it's
the
been
amount of
good.
money that would go back into the city from hosting things like that with a retractable dome, I think would pay back tenfold the amount of cost it came from taxpayers. But that's just my personal opinion. I think we should have a retractable. I don't want a consistent dome. That's just not what I would prefer for Arrowhead. But or
Well, in the
what would we even
Kansas
call it after that? I mean, you're not going to call it Arrowhead anymore. I mean, you could be like
they should call it Talking Chop Dome.
Talking Chop Dome. We'll sponsor it. Don't worry. We'll buy the rights for the names.
Yeah, we'll give them 100% of our taxpayer money.
You know what I bet it would be? I bet it'd be like Norma Hunt Stadium.
Mm,
I
I
could
don't
see that.
know. I just want them to call it Arrowhead. I mean, it's already called GEH at Arrowhead
Yeah,
Field.
it's like Geehaw Field or Geehaw yeah, it's Geehaw Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Because like, the field is named and then the stadium is named.
Yeah,
So it's
but the
like
field is sponsored by GEHA.
yeah, whatever. It's like what even is, like, GEHA? Is it like a medical
I
thing? I think it's like
I
a medical thing.
genuinely don't know. See, Jackson would have been really helpful for this,
He would've been on it
episode.
immediately. He'd been like be like, "Oh, I'm looking up GEHA right now, figuring out what that is. It's Federal Employees Health Benefits Plans. It's an
Yeah, I just
insurance
looked that
company."
up. That is okay, I'm sure the federal employees are really gonna be urged to
I mean, I'm
buy
sure other teams are, selling out their fields too. We just don't know about
Yeah,
them
but
because no
I'm
one talks
saying
about
to
them.
no, I mean, they are. I mean, Heinz Field was the ketchup, but, I mean, that was hype, and now it's not Heinz Field anymore. I wonder what they changed that to. I can look that up
Dude,
real quick,
Mahomes
but,
could
like,
totally Mahomes could totally bring Heinz to sponsor the
that
field.
would be funny if we got turned into Heinz Field. That would be pretty funny. But
I
I
mean, the
don't
dude
know. I
loves
feel
his
like
ketchup,
Steelers
so
fans would get mad. They're
yeah,
now Acrisure Stadium, the,
never heard
Steelers
of it.
stadium. That's
But,
just
I
not as
mean,
iconic.
yeah, dream scenario, obviously splitting the stadium down state line, probably not gonna happen. Second scenario, bring that baby over to Kansas. Lovely.
So you
That way I
don't
can
want
place my sports bets in the stadium. I hate when I forget and I go to watch a game and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm in Missouri."
it.
Or, it's like, dude, I just wanna go on DraftKings, bro. Because
I
right
didn't
now, if you
know
guys don't know, the highway leading to Arrowhead Stadium from the Kansas side, you will actually see a ton of cars just, like, parked right before going into Missouri because they're like, "Oh my god, I gotta place my sports bets on the way to the stadium." You'll see, like, a ton, like, on the off-ramp just waiting to place their bets and then drive up to the stadium. It's really funny.
it is pretty funny because I mean, they geo-lock that stuff. I've been all over the States and
It was like that
different.
special promo bet, when it was that super cold game that we went to, and the bet was
Oh,
two completed passes on the day total, and I was like, "Put the max bet, baby," and it was like the first quarter, like, first drive, we had, like, 3 completions, and I'm like, "Let's go!" That was
dude, I
really funny.
remember I wanted to put I think it was Kadarius Toney over 1.5 catches, and I saw that and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna hit that," and
And we
then
were in
it
Missouri.
it yeah,
Yeah.
and I couldn't place the bet. I was so mad. You know? So having it half and half would be pretty cool, or just straight up being in Kansas. I get that, but I still think
I
they
just
should
think the
move.
whole yeah, I still think they should move, but
No, they
I
shouldn't move.
you shouldn't move?
Why? Yeah, I mean, it's, iconic. The Royals can move. God, they don't need to be there anymore, but I think it's an iconic stadium. I don't know. If they call it Arrowhead, then I don't even care anymore.
Now, would you want more parking lot space if they, like, let's say the Royals move, right? Would you want something else built there, like, in its place?
Dude, they just tear down that area. There's nothing there. You're
Just
right.
throw
You're
it
like
out.
really throwing me back. I'm like, it's really a boring area, but
'Cause it's
it's
like, yeah, it's
historic.
great for tailgating, but, like, anywhere can be great for like, if like, let's say we move the, Chiefs Stadium by, like, Kansas Speedway or whatever, right? And it's
Mm,
just like, there's way more space out there, and you can still have huge tailgates.
that's true.
Like, the huge allure of the KC stadiums, like, when people go is everyone goes to the tailgates because everyone tailgates Chiefs games. Like, it's just like a common fact, right? But,
Oh,
like,
yeah, no,
that's just because we have these huge parking lots. We can still do the same if we, like, move it out to, like, the speedway or, like, even, like, with a view of the city or whatever. Like, we just build a big parking lot.
that's true. But also we could just still do the half and half thing, and that would be it'd solve the problem. I just think it'd be hilarious. It's like there's gotta be like a police line of like where you could do certain things on either
Well, I
side of
mean,
the
yeah,
stadium.
that's the whole logistics thing. It's just like it would be near impossible to have something built. But are there actual like buildings in Kansas City that fall on state line like that? Like just like normal office buildings? I don't know if that must be like a thing they have to like really get permits for.
Yeah, that's interesting to say the least. Because whose taxes are you paying at that point? Because there's less tax paying to Missouri.
I'd feel like you'd have to have like special like so the way I think it would work is you have that one half of the stadium have all of their businesses run through Kansas, and the other half has to like have all their businesses run through Missouri. And like obviously the line's gonna be straight down the middle. And it's just it would be like, oh, I have my business on the Kansas side, I have my business on the Missouri side. Like, but they can't move. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
I get it.
how they have to do it.
Well, moving on to our next topic of discussion, Mr. Antonio Pierce, the new Raiders head coach, is now broke because he filed for bankruptcy, $28 million. Garrett, what do you feel about Mr.
Yeah,
Antonio Pierce?
this is the classic like just look into our AFC West rivals and see like just a little bit of news that's going on. Uh He's obviously trying to copy the Raiders, you know, poverty motif, so or, motif. But, hey, I feel bad for the guy. Filing for bankruptcy sucks, or either that he's trying to do something tax purposes. But, I think
Says
he's
like
probably the better coach the Raiders have had in a long time. I don't, like, have a problem with him. He's bringing a fun culture there, but, like, you know, they're the Raiders, so I don't really care. But
I did think that that was a great hiring by them, and I do like him a lot. I mean, he beat us too. I have a respect for him because he was able to beat us with guys like Jack Jones and Consi, whatever his first name is. I
I was
don't
actually
know, but he had like
surprised.
3 sacks.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that they actually re-signed their interim head coach because it reminded me of the whole Brown situation when God, I'm blanking on his name. This would be a great time for Jackson, but they had an interim coach who coached really well for him, and then they kind of dumped him, and then they hired it was the guy before Kevin Stefanski, and he just was awful, right? And now, like obviously now they have Stefanski and they're happy with him and all that, but
Yeah,
um,
Stefanski's good.
yeah, I
I'm
was
trying to
just
think
surprised
too.
that they resigned their interim.
Well, the Raiders did it themselves because they had Bisaccia that one year,
Yeah.
where they almost made the playoffs in that famous Chargers versus Raiders game where if they tied, they both went to the playoffs, but then the Chargers just won instead.
It was,
Like
like,
that,
last minute too, it was, like, the last, like, 30 seconds.
yeah, that was a cool one. Or was it the Raiders did win that game?
No, the Raiders won that game. It
Oh,
turned
okay.
them into
So
the
then
playoffs at the
Bisaccia
end.
took him to the playoffs. Then why would
Yeah.
they not re-sign him? That's crazy. That is crazy because Mike McDaniels is a genius and he needs a seventh chance, I think.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next topic is the Super Bowl ring accidentally had a little error on it. I have the picture of said Super Bowl ring. If you look in the bottom left corner, Miami's not the 7th seed. They were the 6th seed. So, yeah, Garrett, what do you think of
I
this?
just, I think it's completely it's, like, out of this universe that someone messed that up. Like, you'd think, like, after the 2nd check, like, someone's like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, they weren't the 7th seed." It's like, did they check it at all? I feel like the first person to look at this, they got, like, 20,000 people or whatever, like, looking over this ring, checking designs. Like, not one person who looked over this ring design before it went to, you know, getting lasered out and engraved. Not one person was like, "Hey, just so you guys know, Dolphins are the 6th seed."
I agree that I don't know how it didn't get caught, but at the same time, I do like Kelsey's take on it, where it's like, who cares, man? If the Dolphins were the 7 or the 6, we're still gonna beat their ass. Like, I thought it was funny that he just didn't care, and it's kind of a cool piece of history. I
I
think
just
that's
find
what
it
you have to.
hilarious that that somehow happened. Like,
Yeah, I
there's
think it's
something
you
you
have to
never
look at
hear.
it and laugh. You can't be mad at it now that it happened, but you could be shocked that it happened. Like, I
Oh, I'm sure Clark, when he found that out was like, "What do you mean? I just spent, millions and millions of dollars on these rings, and there was a big mistake on all of them."
someone got fired. Someone got fired or
I
praised
don't
or
know who it was,
something.
but it was at least one person got fired.
Yeah. But we've had some recent success here. So we've had a lot of rings to look at. Garrett and I are just gonna quickly go over the designs and kind of pick out which one our favorite. I mean, on screen now is the first one from Super Bowl 4 in 1969. Nice. I mean, look
Which,
at this.
I'm sure back in '69, this looked absolutely phenomenal, but, compared to the rings of today, I mean, I think my state ring looks better than this, so it's just like
Damn.
it
It's clean.
it's
It's
clean,
clean.
but, it's very, very '60s is the way I'll put it.
Barely 60s. It's 69. That's like 1 year in its
Oh,
70s.
'70s, okay.
Next up, when we finally won our first Super Bowl in
We
forever.
finally got it back after the huge drought. I mean, it's super clean, got the 2, Lombardis in the background. I really like the red background, contrasting. I think red and gold just look so good together. It's just
I'm glad.
it's so well and contrasted.
And when we've been looking at the other Super Bowl rings, it's like they either choose gold or silver, and we kind of been doing like the gold and
Yeah, big
silver,
mix of both, yeah.
which I really, really like. And then going on, we ended up taking the Super Bowl 2 years ago. This one's clean. This one I think might be my
Yeah, this one's it's so hard to choose between our newest one and this one, because underneath this one as well is a reconstruction of Arrowhead Stadium that looks really clean. I think the interior of number 4 looks better, but this one I think is my favorite exterior. It just looks so
love.
clean.
Yeah, I love the Chiefs kingdom. I mean, having 3 Super Bowls also is just like symmetrical. It's just like, oh. And then we got this one. See, actually, you're right, because I actually don't like the outside of this one as much as the one
Yeah,
before it,
I
and
like
I
the
do
outside of the
like the
one, yeah.
square. I like the square more than the football shape, but
But I mean, this one also looks really clean. I think it's probably my second favorite with Mahomes is first, being my third. Obviously, the one from '69 is my least favorite. It is what it is. Sorry, Hank. I mean, it's not that clean. Uh,
but
it's just
but
the
the Las
interior.
Vegas inspired logo, like the inside red field, the Tom and Jerry play, like all of it is
Now,
just
I
so
will
cool.
say I like the Tom and Jerry on there. I think the middle of the interior of the ring is just kind of cluttered, for my opinion. Like, I get it. You have a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of Lombardis in there, but it's like, did we really need all those on there? I don't think so.
Why is
But
it commemorating the 17 points scored in the AFC Championship game? I don't get what
I
that
guess Clark
means.
was like, "Hey, I think we need to really need to put that on there." I think it's like 17. It's like confetti. Oh,
Oh,
that's what
wow.
it. This makes yeah.
28 diamonds symbolic of defense held every point opponent to under 28. It's, like, cool, I guess.
It's like if you didn't explain it to me, I would have just assumed they were diamonds, just
Yeah.
to be flashy, but it's kinda like someone, writes something in a story and they're like, "Oh, well, it actually means this," but it's in, like, post, so it's like, "Hey, guys, we actually had 28 diamonds here. It kinda symbolizes this."
Yeah.
Uh, it's just they're diamonds, brother. We don't it ain't that deep. It don't need to be that deep.
For as deep as they made it, surprising more, honestly, that they got the Miami seed wrong. Like, wow. Because
It's just unbelievable, man, but
I guess
it's
they
super
thought
funny.
we were the 1 seed, huh?
Yeah,
But
I think our, Mahomes' 2nd ring is definitely my favorite of the 3 new ones, that's for sure.
this one? Yeah.
It's just so clean,
I know, I
so
like the
clean.
shape. I think the square shape is more Super Bowl ring to me than this football shape that's, like, too big. This one I don't like. I'm not gonna lie.
Like,
It's,
yeah,
like,
like, it looks
cool,
fine.
but this is just, ugh, I like it. I would wear it out,
It's
on the town.
bombastic. Like, when you go to the NFL honors, like, you are just, like, flashing that thing, like, that is your, like, premier ring that you got.
I saw a funny picture of Justin Watson, because he has a Tampa Bay ring against the Chiefs, so he was wearing all of his rings, so I thought that was really funny because he has the one that we don't talk about the 2020 Super Bowl, that
Yeah,
one didn't
we don't talk
happen.
about that. We'll eventually need to pull up that graphic of our starting O line for that game. It is
Oh my god.
horrendous.
Dude, I don't even know if I could find that right now, but that
I
would
have it
be a
on my
nice.
phone. I mean, we'll probably show it eventually in another episode, but
Oh, yeah.
it's so bad.
But
If you were a Chiefs fan at that time, you know our pain. And I'm sure other fan bases are like, "Oh,
with
womp womp womp." You know, you guys didn't win 4 Super Bowls instead of 3, whatever. But that was just a hard one to watch, especially it
that
was against you know who, but
the GOAT. I
the
wanted to
GOAT.
beat Tom Brady so bad in the Super Bowl because we could not beat him in the playoffs to save our lives, but, and that's
It
always gonna
is
be
what it is.
it's gonna be the truthers for Brady
Mahomes could
GOAT.
win 9 Super Bowls, and then you're gonna have Brady stands like, "Well, he never beat Brady in the playoffs, so,
Yeah,
he
it's
just
gonna
no way he could be the GOAT."
yep,
So
it's
stupid.
that's the ultimate trump card that they're always gonna have, which I don't
Yeah, but
like.
If Mahomes three-peats, that'll be something Brady never did, so
When
actually,
Mahomes
it'll be
three-peats.
yeah, when. It'll be somewhat something that no one's ever done, so
Well, finally, since we're talking about all these old Super Bowls, and since it's peak off-season content and there's literally nothing else to talk about, some people have posed the question: does Mahomes finally have his best core of receivers slash tight ends that he's ever had in his career? I say it's a close one, honestly. So we're talking about the first Legion of Zoom 1.0, I guess, and this 1.0 had Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle are the top pass catchers of that offense. And then flash forward to what next year could be Kelsey, Hollywood Brown, Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy, Mecole Hardman again, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. So I honestly think I'm leaning towards the old group still because I think Tyreek Hill is better than that top three receivers right there combined, just by himself in his prime. And Kelsey is not the same Kelsey from this other time period that we're talking about. But Garrett, I'll
yeah,
let
I
you.
mean, I think I'd have to agree on that just because with prime Kelsey and prime Tyreek Hill, and then you'd have week 1 Sammy Watkins and then playoff Sammy Watkins, 2 very different things. Like, week 1 Sammy Watkins during that time was like he'd have 3 touchdowns, 250 yards, and then, like, the rest of the year, he'd have nothing, and then he'd come to playoffs and become, like, just a clutch master for us.
Cooked Richard Sherman. Loved
Just
that.
cooked Richard Sherman. And then you had Demarcus Robinson, who had some of the most unbelievable catches with Mahomes, but also if you were a Chiefs fan at the time and you watched every game, you know that Demarcus Robinson did some things that could really make you a little upset during games. He was a big run backwards kind of guy, thinking he was Tyreek Hill speed. He was not. Uh, if you're listening to Marcus, you were not him. You just you catch the ball, go forward, buddy. You're not going to be juking anyone out of their shoes going backwards. Uh, and I guess you could say prime in quotes Mecole Hardman at the time.
Dude,
I
that
think
was his
he
best year.
it was
That
his
was his
best
best
year.
year ever by far.
Um, I mean, hey, I'll take that. I'll take the Super Bowl winning catch every day of the week. But yeah, that was his best year by far. And then you had a guy like Byron Pringle who was playing so well that he eventually got himself a contract with the Bears. Didn't really do much afterwards, but when he was with us, he was balling out, always open. He was like a huge red zone threat for us. Just somehow, just always happened to find open space down there. But if I had to argue for what we're calling the Legion of Zoom 2.0, I would say in terms of if it was Kelsey and Tyreek, I would take those 2 over our whole core right now. But if we're talking Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, I would honestly take our average of this year now than that rest of the core from the first, Legion of Zoom. Just because I think Hollywood Brown's gonna bring us a lot of that lost kind of deep threat speed that we have, because he's gonna be a more respected deep threat currently, not gonna say in the future, than let's say someone like Xavier Worthy right now, right? Hopefully both of those in tandem can open up a lot of deep, zone and schemes, but as of right now, I think we got a lot of deadly speed and a lot of deadly route runners that we can really take advantage of. Uh, who knows if we change our opinion on if it's the best core by the end of the season? But as of right now, I think I edge it towards our first Legion of Zoom.
Yeah, and I think the new one has the easy potential to pass it. Honestly, Miko Hardman, I'm looking at his stats right now, might be overhated low key because I mean, he had 500 yards, 700 yards in his first 3 years. I mean, the
I
last
mean,
two
and he was always
seasons,
like in a wide receiver 3, 4 role, so it's not like he had a ton of targets available anyway.
I mean, he had 80 targets, 83 targets in 2021. What were we doing in 2021 that he needed that many targets? But I guess he's
That's a
not
lot
that.
of targets.
Yeah, I
Was he
don't
was
what
he on wide receiver 2 that year?
2021 Chiefs roster needs to
Because
be studied.
We still had Hill then in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, we had D-Rob too, I think. So
Maybe
it
like D-Rob.
has
I don't think
that
D-Rob got
was
too much
it. It was just me, Cole, Tyreek, and D-Rob because that was
see why he
after
got a bunch
Sammy
of targets
Watkins.
then. Was that before Justin Watson too? Yeah, that would be because Justin Watson was on the Bucks that year.
Yeah, I want to see who our other wide receivers were because that is Byron Pringle, Marcus Kemp, ugh, and Josh Gordon. Oh, this was the
Dude,
year where we tried
dude,
out
why did you tell me
everybody.
why did you remind me of Marcus Camp, dude?
Marcus
So
Kemp was a
bad.
special teams ace, but I didn't like him at
Anytime
actual
he got on the
receiver.
field on offense, we were just like, "Well, can't wait to see a huge drop or a fumble."
And then we had, Doris Fountain, which everyone overhyped for a while too. That
Oh my
was,
god, he was I mean, he was okay.
he was everyone thought he was gonna be that guy, and then he just was
He was
a
just not.
guy. But
He was not
that
that guy, pal. He was not that guy.
dang, that core might be well, see, it doesn't matter because we have Tyreek Hill, so all of a sudden it's already a better core than last year's or the year before that. So, Mahomes has done it with a different cast, it seems like every season, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a an S tier actor in like a bunch of B tier films, you know? Like
Yeah.
he's the high bill and they just kind of like fill in some, extras in there just to fill some spots and he makes it work, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously makes it
honestly,
work.
though, it's fun, though, to root for these guys in the offseason because right now, I mean, we got these 8 guys that could make the roster, and you got your Justin Ross stands, you got your Nico Remigio stands,
I don't think I've
not
ever seen a
enough not
Nico
an
Remigio stand, but I'm sure they're out there. Maybe there's
you
like a
got
Nico Remigio worshiper account on Instagram or something.
oh my gosh, yeah. Guys, would you want Kadarius Toney worshiper on the podcast? I've
Yeah, we'll
been
get him on the
talking with
pod.
him,
Get him on the
but
pod.
yeah, we need a Nico Remigio worshiper account. I mean, listen, it's fun to have. I mean, we've had a lot of receivers. Honestly, we could just spend the next last like 5 minutes of this episode just listing off some crazily backup receivers we've had, like Albert Wilson
Oh
or
my god. Who was Chris Conley?
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
throwback. I think he was one of the guys that, played with Mahomes during his first start, on that last game of the year versus the Broncos.
yeah. It was like him, D-Rob, and Albert Wilson, I think, were the three.
Yeah. With, we even had, like, the D-list, announcer for that game, you remember that? It was like that, like, horrible announcer
Oh
because
my god.
it was like a week 17 game, we already, like, got our playoff spot, we were putting in all our backups, and Mahomes still went out in there and played against by the way, if you guys didn't know, Mahomes' first start was, the last week of the season, his rookie year. We had just like clinched up our playoff spot. We benched all our starters. However, we were playing Denver, who didn't bench any of their starters. They played their whole squad, right? That was like top premier Broncos defense at the time. And Mahomes still went out there and beat them with all
Yeah.
backups. All.
And he didn't even
Like,
play the whole game. He didn't
no.
even play the whole game because
I
I
think
remember they put
he had
Tyler
a rushing
Bray.
touchdown, right? Yeah, he didn't have a passing touchdown of the game. He was a rushing touchdown.
It might have been,
He had like
but I just
190
remember
yards, I think, something like
vividly
that.
they put Tyler Bray in the game for, like, 1 series, and he had a fumble that Denver recovered, and I think might have scored after that. It was literally, like, the first play Bray went in, and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
we need to actually put Mahomes back in and win this game." And I think Andy Reid knew that it would just be, like, worth it to win the game if he could win the game,
Yeah.
you know?
But I mean, even in that game, he had some like it just insane crazy throws. But he was just starting out, and then he blossomed into, what he was, the year later with his 50 touchdown, 5,000-yard season.
Yeah, and then he'd be
First year
throwing
starting.
to then he'd later be throwing to NFL legends like Josh Gordon and, Kelvin Benjamin,
Kelvin
who
Benjamin, yeah. Who classically was, one Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end, according to
dude,
that announcer.
I always will remember 2 things about Kelvin Benjamin. 1, for some reason, he got a golden ticket 99 Madden card, the year he was on the Chiefs, and
I
they gave him
remember
the Chiefs
that,
card
yes.
that he was so broken. And then 2, if he would have caught that touchdown pass that he was
He
wide
would have
open
broken Matt
for,
Ryan's record.
I know. And I was so mad at that because that was one of the coolest records I think to have is so the record that Matt Ryan holds right now is the most different receivers he's thrown to with a touchdown, which just goes to show
In one
I can
season.
do it with anyone. Yeah, in one season. Like I
Yeah.
can throw it to anybody. Like I could in I was like, "Oh, we have so many bums." Oh, I thought
He
Mahomes
was
could get
wide
that
open
record.
too. It's not like it was like a covered pass. He was wide open, and he
And
dropped
they
it.
put him in. I think they put him in to try to break the record too.
Yeah.
Like, but
God, who are some, insane other I mean, we had Le'Veon Bell for a while.
that
That
is
was
just
weird. That was
crazy.
just a crazy stat. He was awful. Every single time they put him in, he was so bad.
I'm glad we didn't get him a Super Bowl, honestly, because we didn't win that year. We got Melvin Gordon one. Melvin Gordon deserved it.
Yeah, he also famously during the parade, he was like, "I got carried. I got carried."
Yeah, I love that.
But,
You
hey, at
gotta
least he
know
knew,
when you're getting carried, bro.
But, I mean, yeah, Mahomes has just had a lot of interesting characters to throw to over the years, and, I'm sure we could rant on about, endless amounts of Chiefs 3s and 4s from positions past, but
Blake
it's just
Bell.
been it's been a yeah, I mean, I met Blake. I used to work at a, movie theater in the Overland Park area, and, I met him and Tyreek because they were at the movie theater. That was really fun 'cause, I put his name in the system. I was like, "Okay, give me your number or whatever for your Stubs account or whatever," because it was the AMC rewards, and it said B. Bell, and I looked up at the guy. He's a big guy. He's a tight end, play and I was like, "Are you are you Blake Bell?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm Blake Bell." And I thought I made his day because he doesn't get recognized too often because it's just Blake Bell. But I was like, "Dude, you're Blake Bell."
Yeah.
But he was a really cool dude.
He didn't make
Was
Tyreek put the Stubbs account in because they
I mean, no,
recognized
yeah,
Tyreek.
no. He was coming in with his well, I don't know if his wife or baby mama at the time, but he came in and our buddy Jack, Jackson, our stats guy, he walked up to him because I was behind the counter. He was doing something else working there, and he actually got to go up talk to him. I'm like, why do you get to go talk to Tyreek? Well, I'm saying, hey, I gave him his food. That's all that matters.
Yeah, for real. Well,
But yeah,
that's
a little fun little story.
yeah, no. And what one of the only people I've met is Demarcus Robinson, so,
MVS, Chiefs legend. We both met
Oh,
him.
right. Yes, yes. Dude, I kinda forgot about MVS already. Holy crap.
This ball right here is cursed because it has MVS and Sky Moore on it. Those are the two names that are on there.
You have Sky Moore's signature? I feel
Yeah,
like
that was his rookie. Yeah, his rookie year.
that's almost worse than MVS, I feel like.
Yeah, I have both of them on there.
I mean, I have MVS's signature next to Okoye's signature
I
on
was
a
debating
Tito's hat.
Yeah, I was debating when I got the Mahomes signed jersey if I wanted to have it was like because I could only choose one item, and I was like, do I do the jersey or the ball? And I was like, it's got to be the jersey.
No,
I went
it's so
out,
much
yeah.
more.
It's just so much more like that is the Mahomes thing to get signed. Is like you got to have the 15.
Well, you could also like one day if you need to, like you can't sell the signature if it was
When
on
I'm
the ball
wandering
like
the
the other
streets of
ones.
Kansas City, down on my luck, holding all I've got on my hand is just this big thing with like a Mahomes jersey, and it's just wandering. Got my shopping cart, but
Then you can get back on your feet by
I get
selling the
back on my
Mahomes
feet.
jersey.
But hey, who knows in 50 years when Mahomes is the GOAT and long since retired, then it's his value skyrockets. So
Well, it's just cool to have anyway. I mean, what do I have back
I doubt
here?
I'm ever gonna sell it. I mean, it's gonna be like a heirloom essentially. So
Well, I mean, all I got back here is this amazing painting painted for me by Luca Jeep over here. Lucha Jeep. So Jamal
yeah, if I
Charles.
ever have kids, if they're not Chiefs fans, it's like, up, time to restart. All right.
What? Time to try again. I mean, that's what Tyreek Hill must be doing, you know? He keeps trying new women and new
Failure.
new
What do you
kids.
mean? I don't want to be a track star. No.
Dude, but
Yeah,
I
we're
I just
going on we're going on ramblings now. We got nothing, dude. It's been such a slow week.
It's been a slow week. We were gonna say we were gonna wrap early, and it's funny because we almost could hit the hour mark, but I think we should save the listeners'
Yeah.
ears for next week. I mean, also, I want to go watch the NBA draft. I'm a Houston Rockets fan, guys, and you know, you have to root for one bad team. I live in Texas now. I think we know this now. I love Jamal Charles, and I love the Longhorns logo right there with there. And listen, the Longhorns are gonna win the Natty next year, so I don't even want to hear it, you know. And I'm gonna we're Quinn Ewers is going to take us to the promised land. If he gets injured, Arch Manning will. So it's going to be a great football season for me next year when the Chiefs and the Texas Longhorns are champions of both leagues, right, Garrett?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, hey, if you guys don't do it in the next couple of years, I mean that's your window, baby. Just saying.
Yeah,
But hey, make sure to follow on our Instagram and then like and subscribe on this video and put on the bell so you guys get notifications when we post our podcast. And also, join the Discord, ask questions. We would love to see what you guys want to hear, and possibly, who knows, maybe wait lay down the road we can get like a fan section where you guys call in. Who knows?
yeah, and maybe we'll actually go live on live streams instead, which that's for the future. Also, tell us who you want to be a guest on the show because there is some people that have said they would want to be on it, like potentially Chiefs Talk or Kadarius Tony worshiper, because we talked about Kadarius Tony before in a somewhat positive light. Even though a lot of you, oh my gosh, before we end, I need to talk about this. Guys, I posted a graphic of the fastest Chiefs players and I put Tony on it and everybody is so mad that I put Tony on it. I'm like, guys, he's fast. I think makes
It's like, guys,
sense.
you are misunderstanding the post. It is just 40 times.
Like, we didn't put Rasheed Rice or Kelsey on it because they're not super
'Cause
speedy.
they're slow.
I
As much
could
as
have
Kelsey loves to think he's fast.
I could have put Justin Watson on it low key though. He ran a 4.4, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, if I had to pick between a 4.39, which Tony ran, or Watson's 4.44, I think I'm gonna put Tony on it. Also,
4-3 just looks
because
so much nicer.
what if he does become something good? What if he does do some great things? You know, why are we
His
hating on
ceiling is
Tony?
high, but his floor is also very low. So,
I
who
mean,
knows?
hey,
He
if
is
he
the
gets
definition, I think, of boomer bust. If we're talking
if
like Chiefs players, he is the definition of boomer bust.
if he gets like 300 yards on the season, I'll be happy.
Yeah, especially if he's like the 4 or 5 slot. I mean, who knows?
That's if he has 4 touchdowns, I'll be really happy. But
I'm sure you would, because yeah, that would be really good for like our 4th string wide receiver.
but yeah, as always, we're just talking shop. Garrett already did all the outro stuff, but I just had to throw
I
that
was
in
doing the
there.
plugs. Don't worry.
Yeah. Make sure to listen to us on Spotify in the shower. That's what I always got to recommend, you know, just
And Apple Podcast if you're one of the 3 guys on there.
hey, there's more than 3 actually, but or iHeartRadio actually. I was meaning to say that iHeartRadio, dude, they listen over there.
We're on iHeartRadio. What do you
Yeah.
when was I gonna learn this?
I don't know. We're on a lot of streaming services I didn't know we were
Yeah,
on
Sirius
until
XM, tune in.
yeah, for real. All right, we gotta get out of here. See you guys. Rockets are drafting Reed Shepard, is my prediction. Or we're trading the pick. Bye.